Some people don't just play a sport, they completely change it. That's exactly what Walter Hagen did for golf. He didn't just play it, he basically reinvented it from the ground up. So today, we're diving into the incredible story of the man they call the architect of the modern game.
Okay, so when you picture professional golf today, what do you see? You've got these massive crowds, superstar athletes treated like rock stars, all the glamour. But believe it or not, it wasn't always like that. So how did this, quiet pasture sport turn into a global spectacle? Well, a huge piece of that puzzle points right back to one revolutionary guy.
And his story? It starts in probably the most unlikely of places. Let's get into his journey from working-class roots all the way to the global stage.
So Walter Hagen was born way back in 1892, and he wasn't born into some world of fancy country clubs and privilege. Nope, he came from a working-class family. And you got to remember that because his background is absolutely key to understanding the revolution he was about to kick off.
So how did a guy like that even get into golf? Well, he started out as a caddy. But for Hagen, this was way more than just a job carrying clubs. It was basically his classroom. He was right there on the course, every day, soaking it all in, studying the game from the inside out.
And that experience as a caddy, it really set the stage for the main battle of his entire career. See, to become a champion, Walter Hagen didn't just have to beat the other golfers. He had to take on and beat the entire system.
The golf world he was stepping into was, it was rigid. It had this intense class system. Back in the early 20th century, you had the wealthy amateurs, the gentlemen golfers, and everyone looked up to them. And then you had the pros. They were often treated like, hired help. Can you believe they sometimes weren't even allowed inside the clubhouse?
So, in 1912, Hagen makes a huge choice. He decides to turn pro. And you have to understand, this wasn't just a simple career move. It was a statement. It was a mission. He was setting out to prove that skill, not your family's social status, was what really mattered. He believed professional golfers deserved to be stars.
So how do you go about changing an entire culture? Well, for starters, you become so ridiculously good, they just can't ignore you. And that's exactly what Hagen did. He let his clubs do all the talking, and his record? It was just dominant.
11. Just let that number sink in. 11 major championships. In the entire history of men's golf, that incredible number is second only to the one and only Jack Nicklaus. This wasn't just about winning tournaments. This was a loud and clear statement of undeniable greatness.
And when you actually break that number down, you start to see just how versatile he was. We're talking 5 PGA championships, 4 Open championships over in Britain, and 2 US Opens. So he wasn't just winning, he was winning the biggest events everywhere. It absolutely cemented his status as the best in the world.
But here's the thing. All that winning? It was only half the story. See, Hagen knew that to really change the game, he couldn't just be a great golfer. He had to be a showman, a pioneer.
So he basically created this persona, the Haig. This guy was super charismatic, always dressed to the nines, and he wasn't shy about enjoying the finer things in life. And on the course, he played with this amazing, confident flair. He always had a tip of the hat or a smile for the crowd. He was, without a doubt, golf's very first superstar.
And this quote right here, it just nails his whole philosophy. He proved that an athlete could be a world-class competitor and a glamorous public figure. He's the one who made golf not just a sport you respect, but an event you had to go see.
And he didn't just stay home either. He took his whole show on the road. After winning everything in the States, he heads over to Britain and wins the Open Championship. He proved that Americans could go abroad and win. And then he helped get the Ryder Cup started, which basically pioneered the kind of international team events that we all love to watch today.
So what does all of this add up to? Let's take a look at the architect's final blueprint, right? The lasting legacy of how one single person totally reshaped an entire sport.
His impact is literally everywhere you look today. He's the one who took the pro golfer from being treated like hired help to being a celebrated athlete. He took the game global. He championed team competitions. And maybe most importantly, he created the actual blueprint for the modern golf superstar, that perfect mix of talent, charisma, and business smarts. Walter Hagen passed away back in 1969, but his influence? That's permanent. He wasn't just a champion. You could argue he was the game's greatest ambassador. He left behind a sport that was bigger, richer, and way more exciting than the one he started in.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Who today has that same spirit? Can you think of a modern athlete who hasn't just dominated their sport, but has fundamentally changed how we all see it, both on and off the field? Definitely something to think about.